This is Topical Issues, and today's topic is on totems. In the town where I was previously, there was by the wayside a place called Totem, and it had an American wooden carving type of totem. So that small stage was known as Totem. But many people were wondering, what's a totem? We would alight there from bus and say we are lighting a totem. When I was staying with my maternal grandmother, Nanzala, that is in Mumias Wadro, that is the name of the place, and still is, I would hear my aunts and my grandmother swearing upon the bongo. I didn't know why they would swear upon the bongo. By then, I was told there used to be bongos and people would not hunt the bongo. They would not harm the bongo. They would not chase the bongo away from their area. And when the bongos came to those areas, they behaved differently. So I tried to find out what was this totem thing, and realized that totem was a clan's ancestral spirit that they revered. They were spirits of nature. They could be spirits of plants. They could be spirits of animals. I know people are asking, plants? Yes, plants are living things. It's only that we don't know much about them. But some show characteristics, almost like those of animals. So they were the spirits of animals, the spirits of insects, and people revered these spirits. They were very important because within that clan area, they helped in the conservation of those plants, conservation of those animals, conservation of the areas they were in. Some had holy rivers. They were also revered, totem-like. Something in nature that was revered by the community, that was not destroyed, that was not touched, that was not interfered with, and was protected in that area. I was told by a former colleague that in their area, she was from the Aror community, Kalenjin, and she said they belonged to the elephant clan. And whenever elephants would come from the forest and enter the village, people would come to cheer them, meet them. And those elephants would not enter into the gardens and eat maize or crops. No, they would not damage anything in that compound. They behaved differently. They would just graze on the grass. They were not aggressive. They would not attack people. They would pass by peacefully without any distraction and go their way. And people would come out. In most cases, when we see elephants, we flee. But people would come. Their totem has come. Their ancestral spirits are there. And they would come out and look at the elephants and cheer the elephants. And the elephants would not be aggressive. They would just move around doing their business around the village, and they go. That was that time, the totem. People from the same totem would not intermarry. They had to marry people from another totem. And when somebody got married to the other totem, she took over that totem. In the African custom, when a lady got married, she became a member of that tribe. So this totem thing kept unity in the community, preserved the environment, preserved animals and plants in the environment. That's something that now we are lacking, and brought together unity in the community. In the Luya community, which I belong to, we also had the elephant, the bongo, there's the tunga, the monkey, the green pigeon. These ones have now, I think, are now extinct in this area. There used to be a pigeon, green and shiny in color. The red-headed gecko, this one is also becoming extinct or has become extinct. And the leopard. And interesting about the leopard, we know leopards are animals of prey. They hunt. And when they can't get wild animal, they would sometimes go to the kraals to steal animal. But in the places where leopards were revered and they were a totem animal, they would not steal animals from the kraals. And if it came by and you told it, this is my kraal, it would turn away and go. That was the strange thing that used to happen. It would behave human-like. Human-like. And some of the people from the same totem, sometimes it's very interesting. If it attacked their animal, they would sometimes go and wrestle, and it will not be violent, and tell them, this is my animal. And the leopard would leave. And like today, if you move near a leopard, you are assured of death. That time people would talk. If you belong to that totem, there was that connection. There was a time I was looking at books of North America, Canada and those places, and there were totems of the eagle carved in trees, totems of the whale, totems of different things, the buffalo. Buffalo, I call them buffalo, that is the way I was taught to pronounce. But buffalo, for those who, that buffalo, the buffalo. And these things were revered in those communities. There are times when I was young, I was interested, I would read the stories of the American natives. By then they used to be written Red Indians, following the name that was used by Christopher Columbus when he landed there and he thought he was in India, so he called them Red Indians. And these totems played a very important part in the communities. There's still a carryover of these totems, though nowadays we don't recognize them as totems. Many people cheer certain teams. Those teams have got animals or things like that representing. But also in the former days, totems were used as standards of war. The Romans would go with the eagle, and other people would go with whatever they had. The Vikings would put horns on their helmets and they would go like bulls to the war zone. Some would put on the skin of the animal they revered, the bear skins, berserkers. They would put on the bear skin, and is it Valkyries or what? Those of the wolf would put on the wolf skin and would attack like a wolf. And that time when they had that, the spirit of the wolf was in them. They were fierce like the wolf, or they were fierce like the bear. As time went by, things went changing. But we have moved that to our teams, to our national flags, and the armies have their standard. The churches have the rosaries and the crosses and all those things that act as totems for those places. There are people within families or within schools, they create their own emblem and things like that that bring unity. I'm urging the world community, if anybody has got any people who have a connection to their past, learn about your totem. And once you know something about your totem, contribute to its preservation. That would be a better way of conserving animals that are becoming extinct, like the doves, the green pigeon, the green parrot is also lost. That was the most intelligent parrot. Green parrot would master a lot of vocabularies. There used to be these sites. I think they're extinct, this area. So what would happen is people with a conservative mind should try to recall the totems, and you contribute to the totem. This is a revered animal. This is a revered plant. Wherever they are, we find way of following up so that those plants, those animals can be revived. In Britain, when the sleeper orchid was almost out, they didn't follow the totem thing, but the government protected the sleeper orchid. They had to take care of it. It was guarded 24 hours, and after a time, they had crafted a certain number, and I think now you can be able to go and see a sleeper orchid that was famous in England those times. We've got animals that are disappearing, like the red-headed gecko and things like the bongo. In places where they were, if there is a place that they can be preserved, it would be nice to bring back a few so that they start a generation there and be totally protected. The leopard is an endangered species. I don't know how that one would go, because a leopard was a danger to the dogs. They ate dogs. They ate sheep. They ate practically almost most of the animals. And the leopard is very quiet. It will survive. It will attack without you knowing. You get to realize that the leopard has been attacking after it has done so much damage. Those ones I would recommend them to remain in the national parks. But for things that are not harmful, if we have the heart of conservation, then people can think of forming things like that, the totem clubs. Talk about the totem of the animals. That it's not that you are worshipping the animal, but it used to be an important animal in the clan. Let people within that clan see to it that that animal is protected, just like in the old days. Within certain areas, if we take back that, we shall have the variety of animals and plants that are getting extinct being preserved and rejuvenated. You can be able to go back and say, this plant used to be there, it was used for this as medicine. These sites, there was a creeping herb that was used the way people use ashton. They would dry it, burn the ashes, and be able to apply it on young children who had teething problem, and it would work. Now we have to buy ashton. I don't know if that thing still survives. Here we had fruits, gooseberries. We call them in Luyaland amalwa. I got to understand that the leaves of those gooseberries, well boiled, are a cure to malaria. Now they are an extinct thing. So if we could think of areas and people within those areas protecting in the form of totem and whatever, the biodiversities that are there, it will be a great boost to the conservation of nature. Think about it. Think about Wangari Maathai with the forest. As a Kenyan, I always think of that lady and say, wow, she had a conservation mind, and she worked for it. We can emulate, we people from Kenya being an example to the world, because the Nobel Prize was won here. We can start things like that. Conserve what is within your domain. And if everybody conserves and brings back some of the species that are not there but are found in other places similar, that can be taken back and be regenerated in the area, we would have our biodiversities replenished. I remember when we were young, the crown cranes would wake us up in the morning, and then in the evening we had the music of the crown cranes, and we would see them fly in a pattern. Nowadays, I don't know if the children in these areas can even be able to identify a crown crane, unless those who have seen the Ugandan flag. So these are very important birds in nature. The biodiversities. And the way I said, these things were brought there for medicinal purposes. for technology purposes, and for many other things that we may end up finding in future. They were put there for us for our own advancement. It is an appeal to the people everywhere in the world and to the Kenyans like me, those who can get together and have a conservation mind. Do so. You can do it along the Totems line. It will preserve the environment. That's my take for now. Stop it. Stop.